Husband went drinking while I visited my sister in a coma. I came home earlier than expected. On my mom's advice and found our kids at the neighbor's. He was out with friends, so I locked him out and he got arrested for breaking in. Throwaway. I don't even care anymore, but I don't want this tied to my main because people love drama and I know I'm going to get ripped to shreds by some of you. My sister's been in a coma for 3 days. Car accident. Hit by a drunk driver, which is the extra slap in the face considering what this post is about. I left town to be at the hospital with my mom and her husband. It wasn't an easy choice, but I thought I was leaving the kids, 7 million and 5 females, with their dad, their father. I didn't expect the bar to be low. I just thought it was basic parenting. Feed them, keep them safe, don't let them die. Simple. He told me to go, told me he had it covered, told me not to worry and to just focus on my sister. So I did. I believed him. I didn't even check in every second because I assumed the man I married was still capable of basic responsibility. I didn't leave him with a newborn and a kitten. They're school-age kids. He's their dad. What could go wrong? Well, a lot. My mom kept nagging me to come back early. She said something just felt off. At first I brushed it off because she always thinks she's psychic, but after I saw how long he was taking to respond to texts and how short his answers were, I started getting that pit in my stomach. I told him I'd be back Saturday afternoon. I came back Friday night. I didn't tell him, just wanted to see everything with my own eyes. I pulled up to a house with no lights on, no car in the driveway. My heart immediately dropped. I thought something happened. I opened the door. The house was cold, empty, no sound, no kids. I checked every room, and honestly for a few seconds I thought someone had broken in and taken them. That's how quiet it was. Then I hear a knock at the back door. My neighbor's sweet older woman, very nosy, always watching. Everything was standing there with my kids. Apparently they came over earlier that day, scared and hungry. No one had come home for hours. My daughter was crying. My son kept saying he was supposed to just watch TV until bedtime. She said she'd seen my husband leave earlier that day in his car and never come back. So that's how I found out he just left. Left them alone all day. No text, no heads up, just dipped. Didn't even leave them with snacks. I took them inside, gave them a bath, and made them dinner. Around 10:30 p.m. he finally texted, with the boys, blowing off steam, be back late. Didn't even know I was home. I didn't respond. I locked the doors, turned the porch light off, put the kids to bed, and I went to sleep. I wasn't in the mood for a fight. I wasn't in the mood for a single damn excuse. I didn't care. At around 2 a.m. I woke up to banging. Banging on the door, banging on the windows, swearing, stomping. He was locked out and losing his mind. I stayed in the bedroom and waited. He tried the side gate. He tried the back door. I watched him from the hallway window try to climb up to our kitchen window like some drunk raccoon. I called the cops. I told them some man was trying to break into my house and wouldn't leave. They showed up. He resisted. They put him in cuffs. He kept yelling that he lived here, that his wife locked him out. They asked me to confirm. I said, yeah, that's my husband. I said he was drunk and that our kids were inside and scared, which wasn't a lie. They took him away. I haven't answered his calls since. His mom called me 3 times already. His brother texted me saying I overreacted and embarrassed him and should have just let him in. Let him in? After he left our kids alone and came home at 2 a.m. drunk? After he made me come home to this mess while I was already stretched thin, waiting to find out if my sister's ever going to open her eyes again? No, I'm not letting this go. He left our kids vulnerable, and he only got caught because I didn't tell him I was coming home early. He thought he had time to play around. That's what stings most. He thought I wouldn't notice. He didn't even cover his tracks. That's how little he thought of me or the kids. He thought he'd never face consequences. I know I could have just let him sleep it off in his car or yell at him when he came in, but I was done. That night broke something in me. I felt humiliated, disrespected, used, like I was some live-in maid who left town for a few days and the whole house fell apart. And the thing is, I don't feel bad, not one bit. I know the neighbors saw him get taken away in cuffs. I know it's going to be the talk of the block. Let it be. Maybe next time he'll think twice before ditching his kids and getting plastered while his wife's out dealing with real problems. Let him explain it to his coworkers, his friends, his mommy. I'm done explaining myself. He didn't just drop the ball. He threw it out the damn window, and I picked it up and used it to knock him out of my life. I don't even know what I'm asking here. Maybe nothing. Maybe I just wanted someone to hear it from my side before people start saying I'm unhinged or vindictive. I don't care what they say anymore. He gambled my trust for a night out, and he lost. Update 1. Well, I guess word got around faster than I thought. And I guess my husband, more likely soon to be ex, maybe, realized what it feels like to be on the outside for once, because now he's all bent out of shape about how I handled things. Not about what he did, just how I reacted to it. He got released that same morning and showed up to the house 2 hours later with this look on his face, like I had betrayed him. Kept asking why I didn't just let him in, why I had to take it that far, why I wanted to humiliate him. I didn't even answer. I was making lunch for the kids. He kept going. Called it cruel, said I crossed a line, said I acted like a psycho. I told him to get out of my kitchen. He stood there like he thought I was going to break down and apologize. I didn't. I told him if he didn't leave in 10 seconds, I'd call the cops again. He left, slammed the door, said he was done trying. Good. Don't try. I'm not your rehab center. I'm not your therapist. I'm not your second mommy. I'm your wife. And if you can't respect me or our kids enough to act like a father for 3 days, then maybe you shouldn't come back at all. And now, of course, I'm the villain. His mom called me that night. First she asked if I was okay. Then she asked why I let things escalate like that. Then she started crying about how her son isn't a bad man and how I need to think about the kids before I damage the family dynamic permanently. I asked her if she was aware that he left his kids home alone. She said he made a mistake. I hung up. She's been texting since. So have 2 of his cousins. One of them had the nerve to say I was lucky he didn't press charges for filing a false report. Yeah, lucky. Okay. I literally had to beg a neighbor to keep her camera footage from that night, just in case this turns into a custody thing. I didn't lie about anything. I just let the facts speak for themselves. The fact is, he tried to get into a house where his kids were sleeping, drunk and yelling, at 2 a.m. after ditching them for hours. You tell me what that looks like. The part that really gets me though, he's acting like the arrest was more traumatic than what he did to me and the kids. He's saying I could have ruined his career. Oh no, poor baby. You left your kids unattended, but sure, let's focus on how awkward it'll be at your next team meeting. I didn't even have to tell anyone what happened. The neighborhood did it for me. I took the kids to the park yesterday and 3 different moms came up to check on us. One of them straight up said she saw him getting arrested and was so sorry I had to go through that. I didn't say much. I just said thank you and moved on. But later that night, I opened the school moms group chat and casually dropped a message. Nothing dramatic. Just something like, hey, just wanted to give everyone a heads up that there might be some drama floating around. I had to call the police last weekend while my husband was out drinking and the kids were home alone. They're okay now. I didn't name call. I didn't go into detail. But people read between the lines. I got a lot of DMS, a few saying they'd suspected something. One even offered me the number of her divorce lawyer. I'm not saying I'll use it, but I didn't delete it either. Now that it's all out in the open, he's trying to spin it like I'm blowing things out of proportion, that I'm punishing him too harshly for one bad night, that I'm trying to ruin him. If I wanted to ruin him, I'd be posting pictures, I'd be naming names, I'd be printing flyers and putting them on the school bulletin board. All I did was protect my kids. All I did was show him how it feels to be locked out when someone's depending on you. This isn't even the first time something like this has happened. Not to this extent, but the signs were there. The I'll be back in an hour that turns into 5. The just grabbing a beer that ends with him crashing on a friend's couch. The times I've had to reschedule dentist appointments or cancel daycare pickups because he forgot. He's always had excuses. Long week. Just need to decompress. You don't know how stressful work is. He thinks being a dad is optional, something he does when he feels like it. And when I call it out, suddenly I'm controlling. I'm overreacting. I'm hysterical. Well, guess what? I'm done reacting. I'm done talking. I'm done explaining why I'm upset. He wants to be the victim? Fine. Let him cry about it to his boys over another beer. Let him tell his mom how mean I was. Meanwhile, I've got my kids fed, bathed, and back on schedule. I've got security cameras now. I've got receipts, and I've got options. I told my mom everything and she just said, good, let him squirm. She's not even surprised. I think she knew long before I did that I was carrying the whole marriage by myself. Anyway, I haven't said the word divorce out loud yet, but it's sitting in my throat like something about to boil over. I'm not scared of being alone. I'm scared of staying stuck with someone who doesn't even pretend to care anymore. Update 2. A few nights ago, I got a message request on Instagram from an account with no photo and a name I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but I opened it. And what do you know, someone decided to drop a bomb. They told me my husband wasn't out with the guys the night he left our kids alone. He was with a woman, not just a woman, his ex, the same one he used to swear was crazy and not worth thinking about. Yeah, apparently she was worth leaving his kids for. I asked for proof. They delivered. Screenshots, location tags, photos. There was one of him at a bar, and she was clearly right next to him in the mirror behind the counter. Another of them standing outside her car, looking very cozy. Time-stamped. Same night I was putting our kids to bed by myself after begging the neighbor to step in. And then came the worst part. One of the screenshots was from her story. It was taken inside a hotel room. You could see him in the background, shirtless, on the bed. She tagged him. He reposted it to his close friends list, which apparently he didn't realize someone else had access to. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even message him. I just sat there and looked at the photos like I was watching someone else's life implode. And then I got up, took a screenshot of every single one, and sent them to every person in his family. His mom, his 2 sisters, his cousins, his weird uncle, even the family group chat where they all share holiday photos and bad memes. I didn't even say much, just dropped the pictures in and added, maybe next time y'all want to call me unstable, remember who's out having fun with his ex while his kids eat cereal for dinner. I don't know what reaction I expected, but the silence hit faster than I thought. Not a single response for the first 6 hours. Then one of his sisters finally messaged me privately and said she was sorry and didn't know he was doing all that. I didn't reply. I didn't need her pity. His mom, of course, had to make it about herself. She finally replied in the group chat saying something like, "We should talk about this privately. This isn't the place." I left the group chat after that. I'm not playing nice anymore. And because I'm apparently running a PR campaign now, I decided to get ahead of the story before he could twist it. I sent an email to the PTA board and our kids' teachers explaining I was going through a personal situation involving a sudden separation. I made sure to phrase it as professionally as I could while still making it very clear that if a certain man started talking, they should consider the source. The neighborhood moms have definitely been talking because I've had 2 different people reach out and say they saw something weeks ago but didn't know how to bring it up. One said she saw him at a coffee shop with a blonde woman. Another said he was acting too friendly at the gym. I thanked them both and told them it wasn't their job to warn me. It was his job to not cheat. I haven't confronted him yet. I haven't even told him I know. I don't want the apology. I don't want the excuses. I don't want the tears or the fake promises. What I want is for him to watch his whole carefully managed life unravel in front of him, one thread at a time. I've talked to a lawyer, not just for custody, but for separation and asset division. Turns out that little arrest and those cheating screenshots might actually work in my favor. It's funny he really thought I'd let him stomp all over me, and now he's going to have to explain to a judge why he abandoned his kids and publicly embarrassed his family. Also, for anyone wondering, no, I didn't leak anything to his job, but I did post a pretty neutral-looking story on my Facebook the next day with the caption, "Reminder, if you wouldn't be proud of your actions going public, don't do them." He liked it. I assume he saw the screenshots before I blocked him again. I'm not trying to be vindictive. I'm just done protecting someone who clearly didn't care about protecting us. I could have buried this. I could have let it go and handled it privately. But then he would have just kept doing it, kept lying, kept pretending he was the victim while I played cleanup crew. Not anymore. The part that pisses me off the most? He could have just admitted he wanted out. If he was unhappy, he could have said it. I've been exhausted for months. I probably would have agreed. But instead, he decided to cheat while I was at the hospital with my sister in a coma. Like, what kind of person does that? The same kind who lets toddlers sit at someone else's dinner table while he chugs IPAs with a woman who ghosted him in 2010. Anyway, he hasn't said anything yet. I assume he knows the photos are out. His sister messaged me again today and said he's going through a tough time. I didn't reply. Let him go through it. Let him sit with it. Let him clean up the mess he made for once. As for me, I'm getting things in order. I've already started taking down photos. I boxed up his crap and put it in the garage. I've got appointments set up for a custody consultation and a therapist for the kids. Update 3. I didn't think he'd actually go that route. I thought maybe he'd try to deny the cheating, maybe grovel or run off and hide for a bit, but no. He filed for joint custody. Let me back up. A few days after the screenshots went public after I nuked his reputation in the family group chat, the PTA, the neighborhood I get served, literally a process server at my door while I'm feeding my kids applesauce. He filed for joint custody and had the nerve to check the box that claimed I was emotionally unstable and erratic. His little note to the court actually accused me of alienating behavior and public slander damaging to the co-parenting relationship. The same man who left his kids with neighbors to go screw his ex while I was at the hospital? That man thinks he gets co-parent status? He's lucky I didn't light his car on fire. So I didn't wait. I called my lawyer. I had already talked to her when the cheating came out, but this time I went into full war mode. I told her I wanted everything on the table. Full custody, no overnight visits, and a record of the arrest from the night he tried to break into the house like a drunk frat boy. We compiled everything, the neighbor's written statement about watching our kids, the screenshots of him shirtless in a hotel room, his arrest record. I even had my mom write a statement about advising me to come home early because she had a bad gut feeling. We built the file like a goddamn court show. But it didn't stop there. I found out through a friend of a friend that he was telling people I'd gone crazy, that I was making things up and ruining his life because I couldn't handle the breakup. He said I had a mental breakdown and locked him out because I was paranoid. Right. Because paranoid people call the cops after they find their toddlers with strangers and a cheating husband nowhere in sight. I was so done. So I pulled the most calculated, brutal move I've ever made. I recorded our kids talking about what happened. Nothing crazy, just them saying things like, "Daddy wasn't home, and we stayed at Mrs. Jensen's house, and Mommy called the police 'cause the door was shaking." All stuff they saw and heard. Then I edited it, not to change their words, but to stitch together the pieces that made my point loud and clear. I sent that edited video straight to my lawyer and also very intentionally to his mom, the same woman who called me vindictive 2 updates ago. I wrote in the email, "Thought you should know what your golden boy's legacy is. This is what your grandkids say when they talk about their father. Hope you sleep well." Not even 20 minutes later she tried to call me. I didn't answer. What was she gonna say? Sorry your son bailed on parenting and tried to gaslight you into joint custody after cheating? No thanks. That apology can go rot with the rest of them. Next, I went nuclear publicly. I made a Facebook post tagging him that read, "You left your kids home alone while I was at the hospital. Then you cheated. Then you lied. And now you want custody? I hope your lawyer was cheaper than your hotel room, because you're gonna need the savings." It got shared. People reacted. Moms from the school messaged me things like, "I always knew something was off about him." Dads too. Even our old landlord commented, saying, "Sounds like you're better off." I didn't even know we were still Facebook friends. The kicker? His job saw it. I didn't tag the company or say his full name, but mutuals talk. I'm sure it got passed around. He works in corporate HR, and guess what HR doesn't love? Public drama, especially when it involves an arrest, cheating allegations, and child neglect receipts on a Facebook timeline. I haven't heard anything official from his job yet, but someone messaged me anonymously and said he got called into a disciplinary meeting. I smiled for the first time in days when I read that. Oh, and about that custody motion he filed, my lawyer added our own and basically burned his claims to the ground. She included the 911 call log from the night he was arrested, written statements from the neighbor who took the kids in, the video clips of the kids' statements, screenshots of his public Instagram story showing him in the hotel room with another woman the same night he was supposedly watching the kids. We asked for full physical custody and a court order for supervised visitation only, and after everything he pulled, the judge is probably going to hand it to us on a platter. Now he's quiet. No more texts, no more "you're being dramatic" emails. Not even his mom has messaged me since I sent the video. He's gone completely radio silent. I'm guessing his lawyer told him to shut up before he buries himself deeper. Good. This man spent years coasting while I held our lives together, and now that it's blowing up, he wants to rewrite the story like he's the wronged party? Number. He's not a victim. He's just finally getting the consequences he dodged for years. And I'm not done. I have a court date in 2 weeks, and I plan to walk in looking unbothered, professionally dressed, and armed with receipts. If he thinks he can scare me into sharing custody just to avoid embarrassment, he's about to learn exactly what vindictive looks like when it's backed by evidence. I told him once, a long time ago, that I would never put up with being made a fool. He must have forgotten, so now I'm reminding him loudly, and in full color. Let him try to drag me into court. Let him try to paint me as unstable. I've got timelines, witnesses, screenshots, videos, and a whole army of PTA moms who already hate him. Final update. Court was a formality at that point. I showed up ready, early, with everything printed, time-stamped, and organized by category screenshots, messages, statements, arrest record, witness accounts, even the edited video of our kids explaining how Daddy went out and we stayed at Mrs. Jensen's house. The judge barely had to ask questions. It was all right there, stacked against him like a funeral pamphlet for his credibility. He showed up looking like he'd been dragged through a wind tunnel, hair uncombed, eyes bloodshot, suit too loose. I knew he'd try to play humble, like he was the wronged party just trying to see his kids. But I could already see it in the judge's face. She wasn't buying the whole reformed husband and father shtick, not with the arrest report sitting in front of her. The decision didn't even take long. Full physical custody to me. He got supervised visits only, with court-appointed oversight until further review in 6 months. That basically means he gets 2 hours a week in a monitored facility and he has to pass a breathalyzer before he can even walk in the room. And guess who has to pay for the supervisor? Yep, not me. He didn't say a word after, just stood there with his lawyer, blinking like someone hit pause on his life. After court, I took my kids for ice cream. I didn't even tell them what happened. They don't need to know the logistics, just that they're safe, and I'm in charge now. That's all they need. 2 days later, I got a text from someone at his job, not anyone I know well, but someone who clearly wanted me to know what happened. He got fired. Apparently the HR department couldn't ignore the noise anymore. Between the arrest, the cheating scandal, the Facebook post that went semi-viral in our town, yes, someone screenshot it and sent it to a local drama page, and the public blowback, it was too disruptive to maintain his position. Translation, they finally realized their PR nightmare wasn't going away. I didn't throw a party, but I did buy myself a new espresso machine, call it an accountability gift. And then because Karma apparently likes to make house calls, he showed up. Not unannounced, it was his scheduled supervised visit, but when he arrived, the court-assigned supervisor texted me asking if I was okay with him coming to the door to say hi before the kids went into the room. I said fine, I wanted to see him. I opened the door, and there he was, smaller. Not physically, but in every other way, like the weight of all his screw-ups had finally landed, and he didn't know how to carry them. His hands were in his pockets. He didn't meet my eyes right away. Then he said it. He missed me. Not just the kids me. He said he was sorry, that he was lost, that he messed up, that he should have been better. He asked if there was any way we could try again, that he missed the way things used to be, that he thought maybe we could fix it now. I let him sit with the kids for 15 minutes supervised, just like the court ordered. I didn't say much, just watched. I could tell he was trying to be gentle, trying to do the dad thing, but he looked out of place, like a stranger trying to join a family that moved on without him. When his time was up, I walked him to the door. He asked again, and I told him no. Not because I'm still angry, though I am. Not because I want revenge, this was never revenge. But because I meant it when I said I was done coddling him. I meant it when I called the cops, when I filed for custody, when I exposed his lies. This isn't a story where he learns a lesson and gets welcomed back. That door is locked literally and figuratively. He had years to be a husband. He had days to step up when I was dealing with a coma in the family. He had hours when I came home early and found the house dark. He chose himself every time. Now I'm choosing me and our kids. I know people are gonna say I went too far, that I was petty, that I humiliated him on purpose. Maybe I did. Maybe I liked it. I won't pretend I didn't get satisfaction watching him fall apart after years of watching him disappoint me without consequence. But here's the thing, you don't get to blow up your family, neglect your kids, cheat, and then try to repaint yourself as the victim when your wife decides she's not playing clean anymore. I fought for him for years, quietly, patiently, kindly. I cried behind closed doors and stayed up at night convincing myself he'd grow up. He didn't. So now I don't feel bad. I feel free. My house is quiet. My kids are thriving. I don't have to walk on eggshells or wonder if he'll come home drunk, or be gone, or be texting someone else while pretending he's working late. I'm finally living without wondering what kind of disaster is waiting on the other side of the front door. This isn't revenge. This is accountability. And if he wanted grace, he should have kept his dick in his pants and his ass at home. I'll be over here, sipping espresso and scheduling therapy for my kids, and maybe a spa day for me, because surviving a man like that deserves a little celebration. Edit. Just to answer some of the repeat questions, comments. Yes, we are legally divorced. The court signed off on it a few days after the custody hearing. I didn't think it was worth updating on paper since the real end was when I locked that door and threw his stuff out the window. But yes, it's official now. No going back. Also, I didn't ruin his life. He did that. I just took the blinders off and stopped letting him coast while he played victim. If telling the truth makes people uncomfortable, maybe they should be more concerned about what he did, not how I exposed it. For the handful of people asking if his ex, the one he cheated with, knew he was married. Oh, she knew. She liked the drama. I actually messaged her the same screenshots I sent his family and told her she could have him. She blocked me, then apparently ghosted him right after, so that worked out. And for those worried about the kids, they're fine. Therapy's booked, routines are stable, and no one's crying over daddy missing another bedtime. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. They knew what was going on way before I admitted it out loud. Anyway, thanks to the people who supported me, and to the ones who called me toxic maybe. But I'd rather be toxic and free than polite and trapped. Done and dusted.